This episode of Nos Arietes is sponsored by Full Pull Wines, a Seattle-based wine retailer and proud sponsor of Nos Arietes since 2011. Full Pull was founded in 2009, is based in Seattle, and is owned and operated by longtime Sounders supporters. They offer the best boutique wines of the world to members of their mailing list, with special focus on their home, the Pacific Northwest.
Hey, this is Christian Roldan.
And Jordan Morris from the Seattle Sounders Football Club.
And you're listening to
This is Nos Arietes. Thanks to Watson's Counter for sponsoring this episode. Located in Ballard, Watson's Counter is your neighborhood specialty coffee shop, brunch spot, and now coffee roaster. Sourcing exclusively high-scoring coffees, Watson's Counter has started their coffee roasting project to showcase amazing coffees grown around the world. Their first featured coffee is the beautifully complex washed Ethiopian Odola. Follow them on Instagram at Watson's Counter to keep up with all the upcoming releases, or check out their website at www.watsonscounter.com. Whether you want to stop by for your daily coffee to go or sit down for delicious Korean-inspired brunch, Watson's Counter has got you covered. Welcome back to another episode of Nos Arietes, sponsored by Full Pull Wines and Watson's Counter. I am Jeremiah O'Shan. Joining me today, very special guest, Jordan Morris of the Seattle Sounders. Welcome to the show, Jordan.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So we may as well we'll get this out of the way right away. The reason that I got connected to you this time through a sponsorship that you're doing with Soul Juice. Can you tell us real quickly what is going on? What is Soul Juice and what's going on with that?
Yeah, for sure. Got connected with Soul Juice, and it's great for me. It's just a much healthier sports drink, and I think there's only 3 ingredients in it. It's super clean, and especially for me as a diabetic, it is super helpful in terms of being able to take in carbs and take in electrolytes, but it doesn't cause that spike in my blood sugar that maybe a Gatorade or Powerade or something like that, which, has a lot more added sugar in it, causes that spike in my blood sugar. So for multiple reasons, obviously I'm a big fan of the product, but for me as an athlete, it's been incredibly helpful to be able to hydrate and get those electrolytes back in me without having that blood sugar spike.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like I've talked to you a few times, sort of, or at least a couple times on these sort of like sponsor related deals, and it's funny because it always feels like it's something that is very of interest to you already. Like I'm guessing you're a little picky, or like the sponsorships that come to you tend to be very interest oriented. Definitely,
and for me, I love to, I really prioritize and love to work with brands that I really believe in the product. And a lot of that does surround my diabetes and how that can be, helpful in terms of, being a diabetic and as an athlete. And this is definitely one of those products that it's so easy to endorse a product that you really believe in. And for me, that's definitely Soul Juice as well. And the added benefit is it's been just so helpful for me as an athlete as well, because I've talked about this a lot before, but as a diabetic, before the game, at halftime, whatever, my blood sugar is not in the right spot. I can't take in the Gatorade or the carbs or things like that because my blood sugar is not where it's supposed to be. But I found that with this, with Soul Juice, I'm able to do that before a game, before training, at halftime, I'm able to get those electrolytes and those carbs back in my system. And it's definitely been super helpful for me on the field. But yeah, I think it comes back to just really believing in the product for me.
Well, that's I have to imagine that makes things a little easier for you, as opposed to doing everything that comes your way. You can be a little pickier.
Exactly. Yeah.
But anyway, I appreciate you taking the time and doing this. Full disclosure, I was running late for this interview, and Jordan was very graciously waiting for me on the call. And I have to say, I was not assuming that would be the case, but I was very pleasantly surprised. So thank you, Jordan. Just a little peek into the kind of person Jordan is here, I guess, is what I'm saying. But so moving beyond that, this has been kind of a wild 9 months for you. You made your World Cup debut, which has to be a pretty surreal thing to have next to your name, is World Cup debut and World Cup caps and all that kind of thing. And I guess just let's start there. What was the experience like for you in in Qatar, and having a friend, like some friends with you on that team, that you become close with, not just Christian, but it seems like you have real relationships off the field with a lot of these players.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, first, I mean, it's hard to put into words what that meant to make that World Cup team and to get a step on the field. That's been my goal since I was a kid, was to play in a World Cup, and to have that come true was incredible. Have my friends and, my family was able to come out and be part of the family program that was there, and my wife, and it was just incredible. I remember running over when I was subbing against Wales and just seeing my family like in those first couple rows. Just a surreal moment for all of us, and all like the sacrifice that they put in as well to help me get to where I am. It was just a really cool moment to be able to share together. But yeah, it's a dream come true to be able to do that. And then, like you mentioned, the team in general was just so close. I think, that's been out there, obviously the brotherhood that we have. And, but to be able to share it with, guys like Christian, Aaron Long, Walker Zimmerman, some of my really good friends was it made it even more special.
And so I don't know how much experience you have with I guess you've been with this group for a while, but it is a little different of a group than when you started with the national team. How can you kind of sort of compare the internal relationship of this, raw, it's obviously it's a fluid thing, but how would you compare the relationships that you have with the players here versus the way that the team was during the sort of the previous era that you were a part of?
Yeah, obviously for me, I kind of switched from being the younger guy in the previous era to being one of the older guys, maybe one of the more veteran guys on the team. So that was a little bit different. And then I think it just goes back to that kind of brotherhood aspect of what I was talking about. I think Greg and the staff did such an incredible job of building a culture there, both on and off the field, of how we, on the field, how we wanted to play. Everyone knew their roles, exactly what was expected of them when they stepped on the field. But then also off the field, just the bond that we made, the brotherhood that we made, I think that stemmed a ton from the culture that was created. But obviously it's just a great group of guys as well. So I think just that closeness that that this group felt was maybe a little bit different than the group before. Not to say that obviously there were great guys, great players. It was incredible to be a part of that group before and get to play with guys that I had grown up, obviously watching, and some of my U.S. soccer heroes, getting to grow up and be watching them, but then to be teammates with them was really special in its own sense. But I think that brotherhood was just so close in this group that we had.
And did there's the way that the way the perception is, I think, from the outside, is there's like an MLS or domestic contingent, and then there's a European contingent. But then when you hear the players talking, it doesn't seem like they see that same divide. And it's like you said, it does seem like there's kind of a cohesive team aspect of this.
Yeah, I think that's definitely more from the fan base. There's none of that within the group. When you put on the jersey, it doesn't matter where you play. You're all part of the same group. You're all part of, you all have the amazing honor to represent the national team, especially at a World Cup. So there definitely wasn't that divide within the group in any sense. I think that more comes from the outside.
Speaking of the way the perceptions are from the outside, it seems like a lot of those MLS guys, you in particular, have sort of become a lightning rod for like frustrations of fans. Are you exposed to that? And I guess how do you react to sort of a lot of the outside attention as far as that goes?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard not to be exposed to it. I don't really use social media very often. Don't really have, I have Twitter and Instagram. I'm not really on them too often. And yeah, I mean, of course it's frustrating, and we're all human beings. We have emotions and see that stuff or hear about that stuff. And it can be frustrating, especially, for players like us playing in the MLS who have, obviously worked incredibly hard to get to where we are and deserve the spot on that team. To hear people say that we didn't is obviously can be frustrating and hurt for sure. But I know that it's part of the game. It's part of the deal that there's going to be criticism out there, positive, negative things said about you. In the end, it doesn't matter. It was all what was within the group. And that's what we always said was the focus was totally on what we can do and within the group. And for us, we kind of pushed that outside noise away and just focused on, being there in the moment and doing whatever we could to help the group. But yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I said that stuff isn't frustrating to hear.
Is it something that is talked about internally with the other players?
I mean, a little bit, I think sometimes when things pop up on Instagram or Twitter and we're sitting around, we kind of share it with each other and, I mean, everyone's getting a little bit of it. So we kind of just, in the end, you just kind of laugh about it because there's, we know that we deserve to be there, and we know that that stuff is just coming from people that were wishing we were playing in Europe or whatever the case was. So in the end, you just kind of laugh about it and move on. And but yeah, I mean, you definitely we it's not like a thing we talk about all the time, but if we're sitting around and something pops up, we chat about it a little bit.
So another thing where I suspect the external attitudes differ pretty greatly from the internal attitudes was the reappointment of Greg Berhalter. What do you think fans or outside observers sort of misunderstand about the relationship that Berhalter had with the team and sort of the tactical identity that he helped bring?
Yeah, there's definitely a split between the outside, the outside noise and what the players think about him. I think you see all the players that came out and back Greg. And I feel the exact same way. He's done such an incredible job with the group. The way we play, the style of play, whatever that is, people are frustrated about. People are just going to be frustrated to be frustrated. I don't really fully understand it because he's done such an incredible job and will continue to do such an incredible job. And, he, like I said, he built that culture both on and off the field, and I think helped push U.S. soccer forward in so many ways. And when you see the players come out and back him and understand all that he's done for us as a group and us as individuals, I think, again, that outside noise just kind of doesn't make a lot of sense because the people that he works with day in and day out obviously recognize everything that he's done for them. And for me, I'm incredibly happy that he's back because he 100% deserves it.
More recently, BJ Callahan had coached the team both during the Nations League and during Gold Cup. What was playing for Callahan like, and what kind of, how did he differ, or how is he similar than Greg?
It was awesome. Obviously getting to know BJ over the last few years in his different roles within the group. And for me, what was so cool was to just see how much he thrived in that environment. Obviously a lot of the like ideas and things like that were similar with how we played on the field, the brotherhood off the field, all that stuff was pretty similar to Greg. But for me, just to see BJ step into that role and do such an incredible job and just really thrive in that environment and thrive in that position, I think whatever he wants to do in the future, but definitely sets him up. I think he could be an incredible, head coach someday. So obviously don't know his plans or what he wants to do, but I think, being coached by him, being a part of that, and just seeing him day in and day out in that environment, I think he'd make a great head coach. So it was really cool to be a part of, and I was really happy for him.
So coming off of the World Cup, you were able to ride that into a pretty amazing start with the Sounders. And I guess what did you feel like was working so well early in the season for you with the Sounders?
Yeah, I think, obviously, I think Leo and I had a really good connection early on in the season. I think that, his ability to get in behind teams, and saw like a lot of the goals that I was able to score came from him and from his service and his ability to kind of get in behind teams. And then me, at that time was playing at the number 9, getting in and being able to finish his crosses. I think we had a really, really good connection. And yeah, it's been, a little bit more frustrating in this last, part of the season, been in and out of the team, obviously dealing with a couple injuries, but for myself, for the whole group, it's definitely been more frustrating. But I don't know exactly what the switch was. Unfortunately, it similar to last year in a sense that we had such a great start to the season, and then whether it was the post Champions League hangover last year or whatever it was, it feels like right now in terms of how things are going, we need to find a way to get out of this rut, obviously, because we know that how last season ended. So I think that's our goal, obviously, starting with the game next weekend, is to try to get out of this rut, and for me, just try to get back to how things are going at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. So along those same lines, what is the attitude within the team right now? I mean, it's obviously, I got to imagine it's a little frustrating, especially coming off of, probably three pretty disappointing results.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's really frustrating. I think we all want to win. We all, we all know that we aren't, necessarily playing up to our standards, but it is frustrating in the sense too that there are games where we have been playing well and we just haven't been able to find the back of the net. And for me, obviously, not being around the team for a bit, I can't speak too much on the games when I was gone. And but I think for us, it's just finding some consistency. I think we're too up and down right now. We go from getting a good result, and then we haven't been able to necessarily follow those up in it recently. Instead of at the beginning of the year, we went to Kansas City and got a result, then we went to LA and got a result. We were following up good results with more good results. Now I think we have maybe a good result here and there, and then we can't really follow it up and kind of build on a streak. So I think that's something that we need to improve on. I think there's been games that we've played well, and again, I think the final product, the goals haven't quite been there. So definitely some stuff to work on, but yeah, I think guys are frustrated for sure.
One of the things that we see from the outside is there does seem to be talent on this team. Like, I think that's undeniable that there's talent here, but even Schmetzer has alluded to this idea that we still don't know who our ideal 11 is, and to be 2/3 into the season and not really know that, and that's not necessarily anyone's fault. There's just been players coming in, players going out. Do you have a strong sense of where your best position is right now?
I think for me, preferably, I would probably want to play up front. I think that's where I was playing well to having a great start to the season and playing well up there. And I think that's where I can be really dangerous. I think if they put me on the left, obviously have been playing out there for a while too, but I think Leo's been doing a really, having a great season, doing a really good job, being super dangerous. So, again, it's all up to the coaches. Like maybe Schmetzer said, he doesn't quite know his best 11, especially when everyone's healthy. But I think preferably for me, I'd probably want to play up front, but definitely comfortable playing out wide as well.
So moving back off the field a little bit, you recently shared that you're going to be a father. How has just knowing that news changed your outlook?
Yeah, for sure. Super excited. Yeah, I have a little boy coming early October. I think, it just puts everything in perspective a little bit, puts what's truly important in life in perspective. And like we mentioned before, kind of the outside noise or whatever, maybe used to get to me a little bit more, or, letting, obviously learning from having a bad game, but maybe you have a tough result or a tough game and you get home and I see my wife and think about us having a little boy soon. It kind of puts things into perspective a little bit. So we're just super excited and looking forward to this new chapter.
So I'm curious, Chad Marshall has probably been your biggest fan. Christian Roldan might be your best friend on the team. Are either one of them pressuring you to go with a C name?
No, I haven't gotten that pressure, thankfully. I And I need to reach out to Chad. Maybe that'll change. But no, they haven't. They've both been great. So no pressure so far.
I guess Chad maybe has a good base of knowledge of maybe knowing what dads need, prospective dads need.
Exactly. I need to reach out to him for some advice.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I realize this isn't necessarily your place, but speaking of Christian, do you have a sense, like, how is he doing?
Yeah, definitely not necessarily my place to talk about it. I think it's been a tough season with him, with dealing with the concussions. And for me, obviously as a friend and a teammate, it's really hard to see anyone going through tough injuries like that. And to see him back on the field has been great. But obviously, still can be dealing with some residual things like that. So I know different injuries, but having gone through major injuries myself, just understanding how isolating it can be at times when you're out for a while, and kind of the hard part of being in and out of the team, and just kind of that disjointed season can be difficult. So, obviously as a friend and a teammate, I feel for him a lot. And, he's such an important part of our group. So we just want him to be healthy and on the field. But in terms of his health, obviously that comes first.
And so I don't know, do you, when in situations like this, do you try to sort of get outside of him being a teammate and try to get at being a friend? And I guess how you go about balancing the needs and wants of those two parts of the relationship?
Yeah, I think you definitely just become more of a friend at hard times with anyone that's going through a difficult spell or difficult time with injuries. I think it just, I think that's the cool part about our group is we're a close group. We all are there for each other and understand that. For me, like I mentioned, going through some long-term injuries, I understand kind of how difficult it can be to be away from the field and be away from the group. So I think you definitely put on your friend hat in that sense, and just try to be there for Christian. So.
And how are you feeling physically?
Feeling pretty good. It's been a lot of travel, a lot of air miles the last little bit, in terms of going to the Gold Cup and coming back for a game and then going to DC and going to, coming back in the group and going to Salt Lake. So it's been a lot of time, away from home, and a lot of time traveling, and then just this knee, just trying to manage it, and it's been a little bit frustrating, obviously derailing the Gold Cup a little bit, and just the lingering kind of some pain that I've been feeling. So it's just going to be something that I have to manage for the rest of the year. But other than that, feeling good, and it's good to be back home and kind of get a full training week under my belt heading into the game next weekend.
So this was your second, I think, All-Star appearance. Is that right?
Yeah.
How did that experience differ this time from past, and what did you take away from that?
Cool experience. It's always an honor to be there. I think it was awesome to have it in DC, getting to go to the White House and kind of just feel the history of that city. It's been it was I was in Minnesota the year before, which was great as well. But I think having it in DC was really fun in terms of like the stuff around the game, getting to train on the National Mall, and like I mentioned, going to the White House, getting to meet the First Lady and the President was a really cool experience. But it's always an honor to obviously be there to represent the league and the Sounders.
So I saw that they did the like you just mentioned that you guys trained on the National Mall. How did they set that up? Was it like, was that a, I don't know, what was the field quality like for that?
Yeah, I think it wasn't great. So we just played soccer tennis that day to avoid any potential maybe just any wrong steps or anything like that. So that was a pretty easy day on the field. But it was obviously cool to have that background and that be in that setting.
And you've been able to have now a lot of experience, like just amazing experiences over the last, year or two, especially. Is there something that you've learned about yourself going through all this and going and seeing some of the highs and I suppose some of the lows as well?
I think just trying to stay as level-headed as possible. Not get too high with the highs, especially, and definitely don't let the lows bring you too low, which can be difficult at times. So I think just trying to really stay as level as possible. But I think also just with like going to the World Cup and All-Star game and things like that. When you have moments like that or experiences like that in your career, for me, it's always just made me, hungrier to have more experiences like that. So I think the motivation each time you get to experience something like that just continues to make me more motivated to try to have, more experiences like that in the future, which is great. But yeah, I think for me, it's just trying to stay as level as possible.
Well, Jordan, that feels like probably a good place to end this. Thank you so much for taking the time. I apologize for my own tardiness.
No worries.
And I appreciate you being so understanding of the situation. But congratulations on everything, especially impending fatherhood. It is I'm sure a million people have told you this, but it really is a life-changing and perspective-altering experience. And you seem well prepared for all of that.
No, thank you very much. We're super excited. So it's gonna be awesome.
All right. Anything else that you wanna anything else going on that you need to get out there and plug?
No, I don't think so. Go check out Soul Juice at Costco. But other than that, I think it's think we're all good.
And I think that there's a funny little ad, that I saw with you that is involved in that, right?
Yeah, it was. I did a photo shoot with them, and they had their mascot there, and he's funny. So it was a fun time.
Awesome. Well, Jordan, thank you so much for doing this. I am Jeremiah Chan signing off for No Study at This. We will catch you next time. Thanks for listening to another episode of Nos Arietes. As you may know, we are transitioning to becoming a primarily listener-supported podcast. One of the perks of becoming a paid subscriber is getting the full version of interview episodes like this one. If you're interested in hearing the rest of the interview and supporting independent soccer media, head over to nosarietes.substack.com and become a paid subscriber.
We love you. Let's win another one.